Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF44 coming at you with another video. So there's a clip going around. Stephen A. Smith has just commented on what he thinks the Lakers should be doing in order to get themselves out of this hole. The question was on there: should the Lakers trade Anthony Davis? Now, you guys know me. You've been hearing me talk. This is what I've been centering my whole conversation about: is the fact that we don't have assets because of the trades that it took to get Russell Westbrook and Anthony Davis. Couple that with some of the bad contracts that we've picked up, paying THT too early, giving our $5 million exception to Kendrick Nunn, and all these different moves that are just not really that decent at all. All of them are bad moves. And I think it's not going to surprise anybody when I say I'm not against it. But I'll tell you what has made me change my tune as it pertains to trading Anthony Davis. It's looking at his contract. That's what made me say pull back a little bit. Because I'm telling you, I'd have traded them a long time ago. I'd have traded them dudes early in the season. When I came to the conclusion that this season was over, I then, as a Laker mind, a fan of the franchise, am looking to recoup assets. Because there's never a moment in time, not one single shot, not one single block shot, not one single rebound, and I'm not thinking about the fact that we don't have no picks. I'm always thinking about that because it's something that, I think I was somewhat traumatized, not really traumatized, but sports traumatized by some of the lineups that we put on the floor when we were at our worst. Okay, when we had Tariq Black and Ryan Kelly and players like that, or Smush Parker, we have had some of the worst starting lineups to ever play the game suit up for the Los Angeles Lakers in my lifetime. And I'm not exaggerating at all. So those moments, watching those games and seeing us that inept, scared the hell out of me as a fan. So now I'm like, at least then, even when that was going on, we had our picks. We knew that as bad as we were and as horrible as those games were, we could always look forward because we had a pick coming. And some of those moments when we were drafting in the draft lottery, I'm not even talking about the draft, but the draft lottery, when you say, let's see who the Lakers get. Those are some of my favorite moments of being a fan. Okay, because I love getting new talent. I love scouting talent and all of that. So it's like, if we're going to suck this bad, as long as I know I'm getting the first, second, third pick in the draft, man, I'm cool. I won't even watch the Lakers, but I will be doing everything I can to get myself prepared for the type of talent that'll be available to our team, and that is almost as fun for me. We don't have that. And that is why I've been on the trade AD and Bron bandwagon. Not just one of them. I want them both out of here as it pertains to fixing that particular problem. I think what it really comes down to is, I don't think anybody really wants to admit that choosing AD over Bron is the better decision, because AD is on a longer contract and he's a younger player. Now, I hear Stephen A. Smith loud and clear, and I agree. His health concerns make it so that his value is probably headed downward, and you could argue that LeBron James may actually still play like this for another 5-6 years because the way his game is set up, and as ambidextrous as he is, and as naturally as gifted as he is, and as well as he's taken care of his body over the years, this may be an unprecedented situation where this guy could play till year 2021 at a high level. Now, I'm not counting on that, given the fact that he started to show signs of not being as durable here, to say the least. But if he hadn't had those injuries, I would be legitimately thinking, wow, how long is this going to go on? And how can we re-sign him? Because at the end of the day, his production is that of a player where you say, you can't wait to re-sign him. Here's the problem, though. I know that his kid is his focus as it pertains to wanting to play with his son. I never let that leave my mind, just like I never let the fact that we don't have picks leave my mind. I always think, as I look at LeBron James, his history shows me that he leaves teams high and dry, even his hometown twice, so you know he ain't gonna have no problem leaving y'all. I know this. This is something that stays with me. I know his value's super high, and if I thought for a fact that he was going to be durable and play 82 games, or if it was projected that he'd play 82 games for the next 5 years, that I'd want to give him $200 million to keep him. Because he's that great. He will always be that great, so as long as he's playing like that. So all these things are true to me. I think at the end of the day, though, is the monkey wrench in his situation is the kid. It's Bronny. Bronny's coming. He going to go to San Antonio or Orlando or whoever has the ability to sign or draft his son. Okay. And I also know that ain't nobody gonna be willing to trade many second round picks, or I'm assuming his son's gonna be a second rounder, but he might be a first rounder, late first rounder, something like that. Ain't nobody gonna be willing to part with picks that year because they know that kid is coming and they know that that automatically gets you Bron. So I'm thinking it's going to be very difficult for us to secure Bron's son, especially without picks, for which we do not have. So the inevitability of him leaving is always there. So I think that choosing AD over Bron makes more sense under those circumstances. And then I look at AD's health and I say, well, forget it, just trade them both. Just recoup all the first round assets possible. We could find ourselves hoarding first round picks and be cool. Now, is that risky? If you misdraft, yes. If you mess around and Bargnani every draft pick you get, and if you mess around and Marvin Bagley every draft pick you get, then of course you messed up. But I like our scouts. One of our scouts happens to be one of the owners in Mr. Buss. I don't know his first name, but he's one of the scouts. So I trust him. They have a good eye. He has a good eye. I like our scouts. So I trust that if we get picks, we're going to do good things. Even right now, look what we did. We picked up Austin Reeves. I love Austin Reeves. I'm ready to keep him on our team for the next 12 years. He ain't got to never go nowhere else. Austin Reeves has a home before he even gets his career started. That's how much I like that kid. So given the fact that our track record of scouts has been stellar in my mind, even though we've misdrafted here and there, Lonzo Ball probably should have been Jason Tatum. I think everybody knew that day we were drafting with our hearts. And I still love Lonzo's game, and I'd be happy to have him right now. But at the end of the day, it's like, the point is, we ain't really messed up in the draft. If we have draft picks, we're going to be cool. So, for me, I just want the Lakers to somehow recoup assets that were lost in trading for Russell Westbrook. I don't need the assets back for trading for Anthony Davis because we did get ourselves a championship with Anthony Davis. Is he always engaged? As in ready to play? No, he comes and goes. But I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, you know, some of the plays that he's running, some of the lineups that he's running, just make it so he's, I don't know, not feeling it, I guess. And I've discussed that a million times, and I don't really want to get into a bash Frank Vogel topic here. But what I will say is, I think the moral of the story is if you put AD in situations to succeed, he will be successful. And I don't know that either one of these franchises have done the greatest job of that in his career, to say the least. So I feel like you can build around Anthony Davis just fine and get more championships going forward, especially if you surround him with the right talent. And his contract is that of a guy who's on a 3-year deal, so getting rid of it now, in theory, isn't really in your best interest, especially since he's still very much in his prime. So I'm kind of on the fence about being willing to give up Anthony Davis because I just don't think that outside of giving a bunch of picks that you're going to find a player that you love as much as Anthony Davis in a trade for Anthony Davis. Ain't nobody going to give you Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis. Ain't nobody going to give you like LaMelo Ball for Anthony Davis at this stage in the game. I just don't think you can get that favorite player that you want for AD. I don't think Boston's necessarily going to be willing to give us Jason Tatum, whoever you want. I don't think you're going to get that for Anthony Davis. But I do think you can recoup maybe 4 first rounders and a couple second rounders and a guy or something like that. You can get a hell of a haul. I do believe that. Or a ton of cap space relief, to say the least. Guys that'll be expiring on massive deals, things like that. You can get valuable stuff for Anthony Davis right now. I do believe also you can get a much bigger haul for LeBron James, even at 37 years of age. Bigger than Anthony Davis, just off the sheer strength of what type of revenue he provides in, obviously, just being on the floor in your uniform. So, in my mind, I just think the Lakers need to stop the bleeding. I think I look at this as 1 out of 4 in terms of we got 1 championship out of 4 years of LeBron James, and I think that's a success given his record, in terms of his finals record. I think that's a success. I think you won the game with him. I just think it's most important to get off the train before it stops. I think I'd rather drop him before he leaves us. And so that's how I look at it. His contract's going to be expiring at the end of the next year. I'd imagine if his son is able to come here somehow, he'd resign with us. But there's no guarantee. There's no path to that. So I'd imagine he's out of here. So doing anything, and I mean anything at all, in the name of making things easier for him going forward, it's just not taking all of that into account in my mind. So, that's what I think of that. I just feel like it's probably a better bet at the end of the day to trade LeBron James so that you can get all those assets, and then with Anthony Davis, build around him for a couple years with all those picks. Maybe you can put yourself together. Maybe you can put something together if you trade those picks. That'll help you have a championship team with a future, with more assets to see it through than what our path looks like right now. But at the same time, it's like I don't think Anthony Davis can win without LeBron James, or I don't think we can put together anything incredibly talented in that short amount of time to make his next 2 or 3 years championship caliber worthy. And if we're not building for championship caliber stuff, then we're probably in a better place right now for Jeannie to have LeBron James on tab, just, collecting the check. You know what I mean? For her personally, like, you're a lot richer with Bron in your uniform. So at the end of the day, the Lakers don't really have a whole lot of paths to success. I think the Russell Westbrook trade basically killed us. It put us in the dumps, and it put us in a situation where we have to pick between lesser evils rather than anything that looks good. And so I don't think there is a solution for this. If you take all of that into account, I don't think there is one. I think at the end of the day, your best bet is to try to recoup the most you can for both players and start your rebuild with a bunch of picks, and just accept the fact that you've won 1 out of 4. Trade them both. That's what it really comes down to. Because at the end of the day, with all that love that you have for Anthony Davis and his contract being nice and healthy or what have you, it is going to decrease in value if he continues to have injury issues. And those injury issues are probable based on the history. This just is what it is. I could totally see us finding ourselves in a Kristaps Porzingis type situation with him if he goes down with another serious injury. Now we got ourselves a bad contract on our hands. So help him get. See, this is another thing, and then this comes into another conversation. This starts becoming a conversation of how much of a risk is it to have them play in the rest of this season if we're not going to be good enough to do anything. See, that's when you start. If you're gonna start this conversation, you got to take it all the way. We know damn well if Anthony Davis has another injury that's serious, we go down this Porzingis route of him losing value. So does it really make sense to even play him this season, or should we be shutting him down John Wall style and Bron John Wall style? See, and that's a conversation that's really difficult for people. And that is why my mind took me to trading both of them or one of them at the trade deadline. Because I'm like, okay, if this team is really done, can we get the most for LeBron's value right now? That was what I was saying about 3 days ago. Like, yes, was the answer to that. I don't think a guy who's 37's value is going up in theory, especially with the injury history we already talked about. So it's like, if we really wanted to do something, we probably should have did it a couple days ago. That way we wouldn't even be in a situation where we're thinking about shutting nobody down. Everybody gets a chance to be in a good situation. Bron gets to be in a good situation. AD would be in a good situation. Or wherever we traded them, would have a better path for them forward. I just feel like now you have to start having the difficult conversation of every passing game that we put LeBron and AD in, we risk the fact that they could possibly get injured and thus remove any of this value that would recoup all of this stuff. You see what I'm saying? Right now, you can get 4 or 5 picks for each of them. They both go down with season-ending knee injuries, and that value drops dramatically. So, if you really want to, talk about how to fix the Lakers' problems, you're probably tanking this season entirely and shutting both of them down. All 3 of them, actually. Westbrook, too. So that you could keep their value intact, so that they're healthy at the end of the season, and then you trade those contracts. Then recoup all you can for it, and walk away with a future intact and all of your problems gone. The only thing is all that revenue that comes with having them on the floor. Now you're essentially saying, let me give away a couple $1 billion over the next 3 years so that I can put together a team that's not going to bring me that type of revenue, like at all. Whatever we're building with those picks is not going to bring you the type of money that LeBron James is going to bring you right now if you keep him playing for the rest of the season. So it does become a situation, okay, what means more to you? Short-term money situations or your long-term future? And if so, do you see the path to a long-term future without trading these guys or shutting them down in the short term? And the answer is not there for me. I mean, as you can see, I've laid everything on the table for us, and none of it looks good. So, if it, put it like this, I would have a think tank around me helping me weigh all of these options, and I'd go with the one that makes the most sense. And I don't care what anybody thinks. Basically, if Bron doesn't like the fact of being shut down, sue me, bro. Like I can't. You know what I mean? It's like one of those. If we come to terms that this is the best path forward for the franchise, that's what I'm doing. Because we've won 1 out of 4. You know what I'm saying? And I can't afford you to go down with no injury. I can't afford AD to lose value. You feel me? I can't afford Westbrook to get hurt based on what he's worth. And that is why I'm wondering, like, this takes me even further. Like, I'm wondering what the future holds for players who have long contracts. I just got a feeling the next generation of talent is going to be behind the 8 ball in terms of the type of revenue they're going to be getting and how that revenue is paid out. The whole 4-year, $200 million contract, I think that's going to be over with in the next collective bargaining agreement. Because as you can see, just based on the circumstances that Jeanie finds herself in right now, just for putting these players together, it's a lose for her. And if she's as an owner, if I'm an owner, I do not want a path toward this to happen to me. You know what I mean? If I'm Michael Jordan in Charlotte, I don't even want this path toward. I don't even want this to happen. I don't even want it to happen. I don't even want this possibility. So, especially since we're talking about fantastic talent. What if these were bad contracts? What if we just missed entirely and gave the wrong people $200 million? Now we're even in a worse spot. So it's like, this is a rabbit hole, y'all. And I'm not going to lie to you. I do think it's going to have horrible repercussions for the next generation of talent. But at the end of the day, this is what the Lakers got going on, man. And I don't blame them for not necessarily knowing what to do, because as I lay it all out on the table, none of this looked good. I think the best move would have been to cut your loss at trade deadline. Traded LeBron James somewhere that could have got you 1.5 million picks. Trade Anthony Davis somewhere that could have got you 1.5 million picks. Now, you just got to, you got to look at what I just said and make a decision going forward. So that's what it is. If you really want to stop the bleeding, you shut them boys down. That's what you do. That's your best path forward. You don't even risk letting them get hurt at all. You know what I mean? And see, that's the sad thing, because this is a very important year for a guy like LeBron James, who has benchmarks. He's trying to reach championship level ability that he's playing with right now. Shutting him down is not something he'd be willing to do, and you would be at odds with one of the most important people in sports right now. So this is why whoever told them to trade for Russell Westbrook was not the smartest human being in the world. And I don't care who it was. If it was Jeanie who wanted this on her own, if it was Bron who wanted this, if it was one of the consultants like a Kurt Rambis, whoever that person was, put her in this position. Because ain't none of this even necessary if you didn't make the trade for Russell Westbrook. Because you still have Kuzma, you still have KCP, you still have Montrezl Harrell, you still have those assets to turn into picks, small picks, and gives you a little flexibility, wiggle room, and the ability to not have to think this drastic without your situation going left. You know what I mean? That situation puts you in a point of no return. That's what it was, and that should have been able to be seen and weighed against the possibility of whatever success they thought they were putting together with those 3 players. And it wasn't. And that was a real serious death blow to your franchise. It just, anybody who would have been able to see all of this would have said the risk is way more than the rewards. Way more. And now we're at the worst case scenario, basically. Good thing is neither one of those guys are hurt. Both of them are healthy right now, so we're not in that space where it's too late. But I look at the brain trust and I say, wow, anybody that would have made that decision without seeing all of this is probably not going to make the right decision going forward. So that's why I speak the way that I do every day, man. I think the best path forward is to try to make the most out of this season, since we're still in position to make the playoffs. And the only way I see us being able to do anything in the playoffs is if we change our style of play. And the only way we're going to be able to change our style of play is to get rid of the coach. So that's why I'm screaming get rid of the coach so much, because doing that gives you a chance to recoup the value of some of the players who don't have value on the team right now. They're going to play better under someone else. See, that's why he's the biggest problem. It ain't because he's the only problem, and it ain't because he's necessarily your biggest problem, but he is the path to things not necessarily getting better based on what it is that his job is and how he does his job. Everything laid out on the table for you, y'all. That's what it is. It's huge. It's a lot. It's bad. But that's what's going on. And the Los Angeles Lakers have to understand that they don't have assets till 2027. That's long past both of those guys' contracts end. If you were to resign AD in that situation, ain't no way in hell you're going to be happy with that based on the fact that he's going to be relied upon too much, playing with bad players. It's horrible, man. The best thing the Lakers could possibly do is probably shut down both of those guys and trade them both for as much as possible. That is literally, that's the best case scenario. You don't let them play another game. Both of them. Finish this season out, and you trade them boys. You trade them and you get the most you can for them. That is how you save yourself, basically. And ain't nobody going to do that because it's too bold. It's scary to even think about going up against LeBron and Clutch that way when you know Clutch going to be around and you're going to want players that represented by Clutch going forward. And you know a lot of those Clutch clients are going to want to be Lakers. So you don't want to wage war against the guy. You don't expect him to care about your franchise going forward. So it's not like he's going to say, let me help you guys because this is too much. He ain't going to do that. It doesn't benefit him and his brand to do that. Or the fact that he's 37, he wants to play basketball. It's what he loves to do. So he's never going to choose you over himself. It ain't that real. But he will choose his son over you, and you got to be ready for that. There it is, man. Trading Anthony Davis, all that's going to do is leave LeBron James with picks. He's going to be driving a tank. You see what I'm saying? That's why that doesn't make any sense. You could trade Anthony Davis. What are you leaving Bron with? Because you know you ain't getting Anthony Davis back for Anthony Davis. Even if you bring back something you like, it ain't going to be enough to get him where he going. And he ain't going to be happy about it. Because if we were really cool, if that were the case, you should have did what I said in the first place, which was not trade for Anthony Davis that year, waited, kept the assets that came with that, and just signed him outright when he's a free agent. But they didn't want to risk that. They didn't want him to Paul George us or Kawhi Leonard us. Since you didn't trade for me, now I hate you and I'm going to go elsewhere. And you don't want AD to do that. So you went and you gave up Brandon Ingram and Lonzo Ball, assets you could have recouped and had him. You see what I'm saying? But it was just too risky apparently, or it was just they weren't thinking like that or whatever. And we ended up winning the championship, so what can you do? But that would have been the right move. Wait until after the bubble year and then sign Anthony Davis outright. Then we'd have had everything. So, see, it's all about how your brain trust works and how greedy you are. That's what's going to determine what happens next. How greedy are we as a franchise? And are we ready for the difficult decisions that have to be made? And the answer is, if we were, we would never be in this situation in the first place. My name is BDL44. I thank you all for watching.